are live. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me just make sure my settings are all good. Perfect. All right. Again, I hope everybody is having a wonderful weekend. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover true crime, mystery to the missing. I've got a lot planned out for tonight's show. As always, I cannot thank you guys enough to taking the time out of your day to watch this channel. It means the world to me. If you are new, we always like to give back. Of course, we're going to be covering Sebastian Rogers' case. I got some very interesting stuff to go over. But we always like to feature a missing person at the beginning. It's kind of a way because, we're covering big cases, and there's so many missing people out there. So what I try to do is at the beginning of the show is I just go and I find kind of a recent person that went missing and kind of attach it to Sebastian Rogers. That way, when people first turn to the show, they see a recent person that may be actively missing at the time and may help, get the word out there. Because, again, there's so many missing, and unfortunately, we can't cover them all. But, they're all just as important as the next. So today we have, this one's kind of set up weird. I'm used to getting from a particular site. So here it says, this is Freddie Cruz. Last seen in Las Vegas, Nevada. Has the address there, Alexander Road and Decor Boulevard. He is just 16 years old, 5'11", 200 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black sweatshirt. God, it's always black. Black sweater, shirt, light blue jeans, white shoes. If you have any information, you can call the number down here. He went missing on December 20th. It's like just days before Christmas. I believe they said it's a possible runaway. But again, if any viewers are watching from this area and perhaps see Freddie, you can call 702-828-3111. Again, this is Freddie Cruz. Let me see if I can kind of zoom in right there. 5'11", 200 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. All right, let's get going. Oh, Melissa says, how can you send a flyer? Send me a flyer. If you could just email me, Melissa, I'd be happy to feature. I also do request. You can email me with a flyer, and I will try to feature them in my next upcoming show. Now, I must admit, especially when I'm covering Sebastian Rogers' case, I get tons of emails, and I don't have any help. It's just me. So if by chance you fall in the cracks, I do apologize. It's not on purpose. It's just, again, I'm just one person. And, when you kind of cover these high profile cases, especially with the kind of stuff that I work on, with the lights and everything, I get a lot of people, send me things that they might see in the video or their theories. And, I try to respond as many as I can, but sometimes, again, like I said, I'm just one person, but I will try. I do definitely try to look out for those. So maybe put like a tagline like missing person feature, something like that to kind of get my attention. So with that, let's get going. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, please ask my mods. Mods can get a hold of me. Real quick, just to make sure everything is running smooth. I'm just going to play a 1-minute recap of his disappearance, and then we're going to get into it. I promise you I've got some really interesting stuff to go over.
2008 Traffic Court, 1008 Traffic Court, Commissioner. Caller guys this morning, they was having a 15-year-old male talking to us. We are right now 3 blonde hair, looking at that, but we're going to turn down. I was going to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants. Didn't know those have a kind of autism. This is the first time it happened. I was going to be in the home before midnight. All the doors are locked at this time.
Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic teenager who lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was last seen Sunday night on February 25th by his mother, Katie Proudfoot. The next morning on the 26th, His mother went to wake Rogers up and get him ready for school, but Rogers was nowhere to be seen. Sebastian Rogers was allegedly wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, his glasses, and his keychain flashlight. Okay, it looks like everything's running smooth. And if you haven't already, please, if you can, hit that like button. That gets the word out there. I'm sure most of you are familiar with my work, but I try to focus on the facts and evidence. Of course, we do speculate, but I am a channel that tries to focus on the evidence that we have. We can feel, touch, see, hear. And so that's why I've always kind of focused a lot on the lights, because I know just from sources and just speaking with other people that either former law enforcement say that clearly this light video could hold the key to what happened to Sebastian Rogers, as that is the one thing has not been explained by law enforcement. I think that's on purpose. Obviously in the beginning when it was addressed by Nick Barris, they kind of gave him the runaround. And I think that, again, that was done on purpose because that was kind of something I don't even think they wanted out there. I do have my kind of theories that I think they maybe thought originally, with the lights, for the people that know what I'm referring to, maybe thought this would have been Sebastian kind of wandering around with the flashlight, but then as they reviewed more of the video, noticed that there's this suspicious car that's kind of pulling up when those flashlights are going on, and then we're like, oh, wait a minute, we might have a serious issue here. So let me get to the super chat here in just a second. My last live, I kind of went over, and if you missed it, please, if you'd like to check it out and learn more about the lights video and kind of where they're at. And like I said, I go over all the different videos that had been released, where I believe the lights are at. It's pretty clear where they're coming from, and but clearly they have not been explained yet. We do have this guy that claims to be an investigator come out and try to put narratives out, and I've already debunked not everything, but I've the stuff that he's put out a month ago or whatever, claiming that this video was taken at 5 a.m. even though it's pitch black, and he says that this is around the time the garbage trucks come. And anyway, we'll move on. Like I said, that was my live on Thursday, but we're now gonna get into we'll come back to motive. Like I said, there was some interesting stuff. I think we're going to get right into the big stuff right away that we came across. And then maybe we'll kind of move back. I do want to address this because I know Coffin Daffer was on another show. I think it was called Crying Shame or something like that. Sorry if I butchered that. It was an interesting interview. I would love to ask Coffin Daffer, get her some insight from her, about the lights and stuff. But anyway, there was some confusion in that show where I think the host was telling her that this video was actually taken around 5 a.m., which I want to correct that no, this is clearly not taken at 5 a.m. We can see that it's completely pitch black. We can tell that when it's 5 a.m., we can see daylight seen here. This has a little bit more light pollution, but, with the other video, such as this one right here, which actually I've got the skybox cut off here, but we can clearly tell that, the sun is starting to come up, and we can actually see the home, which is not even lit up, doesn't have any lights. We can see the home perfectly. But when we look at this video here, the Mysterious Lights video, it's completely dark, and that is obviously because it's much earlier. Sometime we believe around 3:30. And anyway, I'll possibly go into more about that, but the timestamp on it is frozen. It does say, I think, 3:11 on it. Yeah, right here. The timestamp is frozen. But from what I understand is because there was two cars that night, and there was one that was an Uber driver that was more towards the 5:30 time frame, which has been cleared, identified. But then there was another car hours earlier, around 3 to 3:30 time. Coincidentally, it was around, even though this timestamp is frozen, it was taken around that time, because from what I understand, all they had to do is they went, because this particular video, the guy didn't know how to pull it off his server. So basically, just kind of fast forward it to where they could see the trash trucks come in around more at 5 a.m. And then they just kind of went back from there to kind of deduce when that this suspicious car showed up. Also, keep in mind, there's other cameras. That car was not just caught on this camera. It was caught on another camera, which I'm assuming that camera does have a working timestamp. I assume. I don't know 100%, but anyway, I just wanted to clear that up, because they did, I think the host kind of confused Coffin Daffer, and I just wanted to kind of clear that up a little bit. Okay. So I can get to chat for a second. Let me go. Okay. So this is, again, I think it's funny that, this Shield Fisher, goes after, and other content creators go after this nosy neighbor, Bobby. Yet way before, well, I don't want to say way, but before she even came along, there was another neighbor. The neighbor right across the street from the Proudfoots was clearly talking to another content creator, Sweetie Pilo. So I just think it's funny, well, it's not funny, because, this Fisher guy is, in my opinion, attacking this neighbor, and not just her, or not him, but just other content creators as well, for being nosy. But there was other neighbors that were speaking to content creators, is basically what I'm trying to say. So anyway, this neighbor, like I said, has a Ring camera that faces the front of the home. It's very important. She watched that footage. She saw the timestamps, and she went to a content creator, Sweetie Pilo, and I'll try to get the link. I'm not sure if it's in this video, but I'll get the links set up before just after I end the live, if you ever want to go back to them. But she gives some very good insight on the kind of time frame. And then we're going to get into the interviews, and then we're going to get into the main meat of today's live show. Is we're going to get into what happened between 6 a.m. and about 7 a.m. because there's a lot that we don't know, right? And when we get to that point, you're going to see that there's a big time gap, that there's a lot missing. And I'll explain more when we get to it, but I promise you, it's very interesting.
Was that on Saturday? You know what? No, it was on Saturday.
Okay, so just for some context, this is Sweetie Pilo, a YouTube creator. Again, this came out 2 to 3 months after he went missing. She spoke with this neighbor. This neighbor has actually been inside the Proudfoot's home, has even spoken with the Proud Stink Feet, I should say. And again, has watched her Ring camera footage. Remember, that's very important. So not only has she been watching her footage and knows some timestamps, she also has spoken with the Stink Feet.
Evening, but I can't say it was around a dinner time, but it was Saturday evening.
And now Sweetie Pilo is, after speaking with that neighbor, she is now relating what happened, kind of the days leading up to it. Of course, I just took the main parts of it to where just before he went and disappeared.
He's observed skipping and hopping along, checks the mail, goes.
And the screenshot you're looking at is obviously it's the only thing we have right now. Of course, Shill Fisher has all the footage from this ring camera, which I would love to see because who knows? Maybe there's a chance he did walk out. And if he did, at least if he went out the front or the side, there's a good chance we might see a shadow moving across because we have the garbage, the garage lights right here to the left, and then we have a pretty possible floodlight over here, which if he went, one direction or the other, is a good possibility we would have seen him.
Back in to the garage and then goes probably back into the house. Now, about a week after this information was uncovered, I guess, from law enforcement, or it's actually no, about a week into the investigation, then Katie comes out and says, hey, by the way, I have dash cam footage. So Sebastian is actually heard in the vehicle on dash cam during that drive home. So we know for sure.
So I find this very interesting. I mentioned this, I think, in the last show, but I just wanted to point this out because, like I said, we're going through the timeline the night before he went missing, and I just find that very interesting because the neighbor, again, she seems very reliable. The time stamps that the time frames that she gives are pretty spot on, and these some of these things like we wouldn't have known until we had certain footage. So I find her very credible. And again, there's a few more things that I know about this neighbor. I can't say right now, but I would say, where she stands on all this, I would say she's pretty open, if that makes sense. I don't think she's on any side, so it's not like she's got a narrative, you know what I mean? But I find it very interesting that this neighbor, Katie, tells this neighbor that she turned in dash cam footage, allegedly, that has audio of Sebastian. Now, this is allegedly like a week after he went missing. Now, what would be the reason she would need to send that in unless that was to show proof of life? So that kind of shows you after a week about searching where the investigation started heading, in my opinion. Let me know if you feel differently or your thoughts. June says, first still super chat of this show. Thank you so much, June. God bless you.
100%. And so far, my source has been on point. Okay.
And she
came out in the Nancy Grace of, everything that I've been told so far has been top notch. But the trash out early, trash.
Oops.
So Sunday being the day before he disappears. He is observed taking the trash out pretty late at night.
So remember, this is the neighbor looking at a ring camera. This would be the field of view that she's looking at. Obviously, all we have is this screenshot with the garbage truck, but this is the Proudfoot home here.
I can't remember if it was like 6 or 7, but it was somewhat late at night. I guess if you don't get your trash out early, you're gonna miss the opportunity. So the trash guy comes at like so early, and on that day he came at 5:12 a.m. What I understand, the only lights that were on were the garage lights. When Katie says that she put him to bed at
9:08, it cuts off, but. Now,
9 o'clock, the lights went out at exactly 9:08 p.m.
Now, that's very interesting. That just shows you how much she's reviewed this footage. And for those that don't know, Sebastian's bedroom would be kind of on the right. It's facing, he has one window, because I know at one point the shill investigates. I don't know if it came from him or another creator, if it was a combination, but I think there was a possible narrative that somebody was trying to share that, somebody lured him out by, like throwing a rock at his window to get him out. And it's like, if that happened, somebody would have seen that. I mean, because they would have been passing through one of these lights, depending on which direction they came from. And of course, I guarantee you, if there was any shadows moving towards his window, Shield Fisher would have put it out there. So his lights go out. So here, daytime looking at the house. Now, obviously, it's a little bit more facing forward. The camera's a little bit more fixated to the left, a little bit at an angle, but I'm assuming you would still at the very least see the light, right, on, because it's pitch black there. And then we have the, I don't know if this is like the dining area right here, these two windows. And then, but yeah, that's the inside of his bedroom. He has only one window. And that's it, circled there. And that would be kind of the angle that she kind of has.
Then at about 11:45, her light goes out. Katie's light. So the mother's.
So that would have been the lights in the middle. So somewhere around here, I'm assuming. Or maybe it could even have been these lights as well.
So it's like, what happened? This is crazy.
Julie.
But I want to tell you, what was observed was the living room light on, the garage light on. There was a door that was open.
Now, I played this in my last live, and I don't know which door she's talking about. It could have been a misunderstanding. Again, I look at it from all sides. Again, the only doors you could see from her field of view would be the front door, the two garage doors, and then there's a door next to the garage doors where you can just come in and out. That's got a key padlock on it. I don't know if you could really see that from this angle, or at least at nighttime anyway. So again, I don't know what she's talking about. It could be just maybe she thought she had seen something, but it is interesting.
And I think it was open for a long period of time.
I don't know.
Could that have been the entrance for... So it's even extra secure in that regard.
Yeah, these allegations
Does
are
Mom
ridiculous.
park in the garage regularly, I asked. Yes, always. Mom always parks in the garage. Chris has a big truck. It doesn't fit in the garage. His RV.
Again, this is, for anybody that's not familiar, this is the back. I'm assuming, I don't know if this would be the living room area, but right back here is the back door. And this is the only door, remember, this is the only door that has a deadbolt. And if they never change this, now keep in mind, this picture is taken before Proudfoot Stink Feet bought the home. But from what I understand, I don't think I'm sure they changed the locks maybe, or got new keys, whatever. But from what I understand, it's not a keypad lock, which means that, if you're going to leave out this back door, you have to lock it with a key. And that's very important.
Bruising, anything. And they said no, nothing that they could see. But, our neighbors don't know everything about us. Our friends don't know everything about us. Our family even. She parks her car in the garage. The outside, right? From the outsider looking in, everything looks unassuming and just normal.
Okay, now listen to this next part. Remember, this is coming from the neighbor across the street. Of course, right now I'm showing you the lights video right now, because we're just kind of going in, chronological order of what we know as
The
far as
neighbor
what's
told
out there.
him that there was a foreign car that came into that neighborhood spotted around 3 a.m.
A foreign car spotted around 3 a.m. That has been known since almost week 2, probably even probably week 1. And I'm sure most of the neighborhood knew within the first 2 weeks about a foreign car, most particularly the 3 a.m. one. And they all say around 3 a.m. Keep that in mind.
This completely, in my opinion, corresponds with these unusual lights.
And again, for those that saw my video yesterday, right now the circle's in the wrong spot. It's going to come down. But this light here is one of the subjects. Remember, there's subject 1, subject 2. I call this one the spotter because right now they're sitting there. But that is not a floodlight. That is a flashlight. Or something like
what
it.
does it actually mean?
Well, there is a suspicious car that unfortunately we can't see because unfortunately we've got a second, third generation video. So we've lost a lot of quality and we just cannot see the car.
Right? Does it mean that the parents in some way had something to do with it? Great question. Don't know. But what I can tell you is, I guess on any of those streets around there in the middle of the night, because of there, I guess there's no HOA. So it's completely pitch black in that neighborhood, which makes it incredibly hard for a camera to capture, what's even going on. I'm sure the TVI and stuff has had to really adjust the lighting to try to get any image whatsoever because it's just so dark.
Okay. Let's move forward here.
Did on Monday, 7th,
Okay.
150,000, 200,000. This, just saying, that's a very low reward, in my opinion. All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of all this. Then a landfill, a landfill was searched in Kentucky. That was on March 7th. And I think what led investigators to the landfill was the garbage men. The garbage men claimed that the trash that was taken out that day, because garbage was collected on Monday morning.
So while she talks, just to remind people, I'm sure most of you know, but the video here is at 5:09. We've got the timestamp and everything. It's not, this is the actual timestamp. And then in this left corner here is me just playing a clip of the 3 a.m. video. You can tell the difference between the lighting. I've gone through this again multiple times, but even looking at this surveillance footage where look at these lights where they're actually almost shining into the camera, which causes light pollution, and you can get some contrast and, can kind of mess, just depending on the time of day and how they're pointed, but this can cause an issue. Whereas this footage here, the lights video, it doesn't have any flashlights or floodlights like pointed at it where you're going to get, some distortion. This video, it, does have a couple floodlights that are pointing away from the camera, but for the most part, there's nothing that's causing any light pollution, which means it is clear as day. This is not taken, this in the box here where the mysterious lights are going on. This is not taken at 5 a.m. in the morning. We would see a skybox. We would probably be able to see the homes across the street because the sun would be starting to come up. I mean, it's just, it's pretty simple.
At about 5:12 a.m. And the garbage people claimed that the trash was a bit heavier than usual, which I don't know how they even gauge something like that, but somehow that tip is what led them to the landfill. As of right now, both
Bees Knees, in a way, you're right. It is kind of unprofessional. The reason I say stink feet is because, because there's so many lawsuits going on around right now that I don't want to say. I try not to say their names because then if I say something and speculate, and if I don't say allegedly and try to cover my butt, all it takes is one wrong comment and then here I get a lawsuit because I don't know, defamation or something. So yeah, it is, again, it's not something, I'll be honest, I'm proud of, but again, I don't really have much respect for at least Chris, just in general, because I've heard his leaked phone calls. I know how he views women. It's very disgusting. So honestly, when it comes to him, I could care less.
Both the mom and stepdad, I would say they're compliant, but in a lot of ways, it's hard to say. They're compliant, but like the stepdad is super argumentative. I don't know if you guys have seen the interviews and stuff, but he's quick to anger. You can definitely see that. No doubt about it. What you need to know though is about these weird, bizarre lights. I'm sure you guys have heard about them, but
Okay, so moving on, 5:12 a.m. Garbage truck comes up past Proudfoot's home. That
she
is seen.
observed when she went back through her footage was at 5:12 the trash came. Okay, that would have been on Monday morning. At about 6:20,
And she says 5:12, and again, not until Fisher put out this screenshot, there was no way to verify that 5:12. We knew, the trash comes around, a particular time, 5 a.m., like that. But to nail it at 5:12 shows you just the credibility of this neighbor and what she's reporting to Sweetie Pilo. So that's kind of why I'm playing some of this, because we're going to circle back to this, because the main focus, again, it's going to take a minute, but we're going to get into that morning. And I promise you, I've got some very interesting stuff that I haven't dove into in previous lives.
mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window. Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere. Now, I don't think she's much set.
So she comes out, allegedly, Katie comes out, according to her, again, she says around 6:20, 6:30. Again, this is going to be huge. This is where we're going to put it all together here in about 20 minutes, because I have to kind of play a few things before we get to that point. But it's to kind of build everything up here, because, again, more red flags. Lily, thank you so much for becoming a member, or being a member for 10 months. God bless you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for the support. This is the front door to the Rogers home. That's the back door.
And low for her son. Then she got into her vehicle, went.
So she's seeing this on camera. Remember this. She's watching on her I always want to say dash cam, her Ring camera, the neighbor. And she says after she comes out, screams for Sebastian, then she gets in her vehicle. These time frames are very important because, again, when we're going to listen to a few interviews, I've clipped them all down. They're just straight to the point here in just a minute. But we noticed that they're kind of vague on the time frame in that morning, which I find very interesting.
Over, I think, what was the school, potentially. That's what it's believed anyway. She was only gone for about maybe, let's say, 10 minutes at most, maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most. Came back, and from there, it's odd to me.
So I had some footage that Fisher put out. Again, it's like, and another issue I have is like here he's got hundreds of hours allegedly, from this neighborhood, especially between midnight and 6 a.m. Why not release some clips from that night? Instead, no, he's gonna show a video after he's already gone missing. It's like, oh well, it's too late. He's already, how is this going to help us, with the dog wandering around, unless, again, unless you're trying to put out a narrative. Why is always there's some kind of narrative that they're trying to put out there, instead of looking at this footage that you have between midnight and 6 and seeing there's got to be something besides these mysterious lights, unless you don't want to actually reveal something that may not fit your narrative. That's another big issue I have with him having all that footage. I mean, thank God law enforcement has it, but it does scare me. Only because we'll probably never see a lot of that. Jilly says, "Thank you for all your hard work, Chris Mob Crew." Thank you so much, Jilly, or Jill. I'm not sure if it's Jilly. Allison becoming a member. Thank you so much. I'm gonna run through these. Nanette, I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you so much for the super chat. God bless you. And Jazz coming in, or NJ's, I'm sorry, gifting a Mob Crew membership. Thank you so much. Detective Sam, great name. Thank you so much for becoming a member. God bless you. It's really small. I want to say Hilaret. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Chris, you are so awesome. Member for 22 months. That's amazing. God bless you. Almost 2 years support. Allison, thank you so much for the $10. Julie, thank you so much for the $4.99. Allison gifting 5 Mob Crew memberships. That's amazing. If you do get gifted a Mob Crew membership, if you could thank the person
Seth Rogers, he gets
if you could thank the person that gifted, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Allison. Haley, I think I got yours, but thank you so much. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. God bless you, Haley. Donna B, becoming a member. Thank you so much. Eve loves God with the $4.99. Thank you so much. Gerda D says, "Greetings from the Netherlands." That's so awesome to see people from all around the world come together. It's truly amazing. A chemistry queen. I always mess that up. Every time, never fails. Thank you for everything you do, Chris. Much love from Louisiana. God bless you. Thank you so much.
I think it was Katie at about 7:20 saying, 911, can't find Sebastian, something like that. I'm pretty sure Chris, so the stepdad of Sebastian, he ends up coming back into town. Again, he was in Memphis working on this project. He comes back in at, I think, of around 1 p.m.
Now, again, so remember, this lady's looking at her ring camera long after it even seems, and she says around 1 a.m. Remember, Chris did say that he got there sometime between noon and 1. So just to kind of, again, we're not trying to, just go straight after these guys. I'm just looking at the evidence and then seeing where it goes, and then, we kind of speculate on that. But it could be that maybe he wasn't, at least his vehicle wasn't seen until 1 a.m.
All right.
Could have been somewhere else, or him in a different vehicle. Definitely possible.
Chris, this person told me Chris was not seen the entire month of February. People observed Chris when he did come home that day, and the embrace that they had was really it was powerful.
So this just kind of shows you that the neighbor, she's not just like one-sided, like she's against the Proudfoot or on the other side, if that makes sense. So it just kind of shows you this, at the very least, this neighbor is neutral, and she just kind of wants to get answers. And again, this even spoken and been in the home. So it just kind of shows you that kind of adds to the credibility that she's not biased. She's just explaining what she had seen on her camera or has seen in person. And so that's why I find it's very credible.
It was the look of grief. It was the look of being scared. Now, let me tell you, not all this information I'm going to be giving you is good and sunshine and rainbows.
She means that, and what she's basically saying is not all the information is implicating the Proudfoot. So there you go. It just shows you, it just adds, like it just said, adds a little more to the credibility. Okay, let's skip forward here. There's a clown right there.
There is one door that doesn't have.
Okay. So we're going to circle back to this because I promise you I found more interviews, and this is very, very important.
All right. So they have a PIN code lock on the front door.
PIN code lock on the front door. Remember, the picture that we're seeing is from Zillow. This is from the previous homeowners before the Proudfoot came in.
Garage door.
And there's a PIN code to the garage door. So there's the two garages, right? So real quick here, as I promise you, we're going to circle back to all this. And this is very important in my opinion. So we have a PIN code lock, which allows anyone to just kind of, as long as you know the PIN code, you don't need a key, you could go out the front and it'll just automatically lock as you go out. And then she says there's one, so we have two garage doors, and then we have a door to the side here, which clearly also has a PIN code lock. The one that does not have a PIN code lock is the one that we'll be talking about in a little bit.
There is one door that doesn't have either a PIN code lock or anything for obvious reasons.
And she even says there's one door that does not. So it's not like she just saw the two doors and didn't see the other one, because really there's three main exits. You know, you got one facing the home coming out the front. You got the one facing north, which is the two garage doors and the keypad door. So obviously if you came out the garage door, we would have seen it. That would have been heard. But if you went out the side garage door, certainly possible. But remember, you have the two garage door lights, footlights above. It's a good possibility if he's coming out that door, he's going to disturb the light. And then we have the other door, which is the back door.
I do know which door that is, but I'm not going to say here because, you know, it is what it is. It's very confusing. Sebastian's bedroom is not on the back of the house. It's actually on the front of the home. So if you were to...
So again, this is the back door that would have something. I'm assuming they probably just left it as is, got a maybe new locks or whatever, but it's the same setup. Deadbolt, maybe one of those handles with the lock on it as well. Not sure 100% on that.
Dip out, he could walk right through that front door, but there would have been a record of it. And who knows, maybe that record, you know, exists and law enforcement has it, I'm sure.
But if it did, I guarantee you Fisher would have put that out. Okay. All right, let's get into the stuff.
Proudfoot, did you pass your all night? Tell you was correct.
No, ma'am.
I was.
Okay, here we go. So what we're going to do here, and then we're going to get into the big stuff, is I've got technically 4 different interviews. I've got the dates and the days, how many he's been missing. We're going over 2 main things. The night he went missing, you know, what Katie says, and then what she says happens that morning, because it's very important. Because again, the main thing about today's video is we're going to talk about that morning and the stuff that we know, combine everything that we know and get your guys' thoughts, because in my opinion there's a pretty big window that doesn't really make sense to me. So let's put this all together here, but let's first go into these interviews. Again, they're cut down. We're not watching the whole interviews, just cutting down a couple of things and pointing out some similarities that happens in them.
Flee. So first, just express, I can't even imagine as a parent what you...
So I was kind of looking through this because I know Duchess was like the first interview, but when I pulled this up, because they say 8 days missing, which would be March 4th, and when I pull up Duchess' interview, when I pull the metadata from it, it also says it was uploaded on March 4th. So they may have done 2 interviews on that same day. If anybody knows differently, if I'm wrong, but from what I pulled, because I know they say 8 days in this actual interview, which put it at March 4th.
You two are going through. How would you describe the situation right now? How are you coping?
Again, I know people have played this. I just had to play it. I couldn't help myself. Like, what the actual F? I'm sorry. Like, what is that? There's no wonder that they didn't show that when they uploaded it. That's from the local news channel. There's a reason why they played a shorter clip and they uploaded it to YouTube and left that part out.
Every day is harder than the last. I mean, we're out.
So, very interesting note about this particular interview. Now, remember, they've already done an interview in person showing their face and everything, right? This is day 11, March 7th. I'm pretty sure. I could be like a day off. Well, I know they say day 11. I could have the date wrong because I was kind of rushing. So it could be the 6th or the 8th. But I'm pretty sure it's the 7th. What's interesting is they do this interview, but they don't want to show their face. And guess what happens the next day? They do the landfill search.
We're looking. We're trying to make sure that everyone stays looking and doesn't let his face fall to the bottom of a feed or get covered by some other nonsense. I mean, we just want our boy home. Everything was pretty normal. He was playing in his room.
Okay. So this is where I'm going to show just 2 sections here. This is day 8, March 4th. And this is the first local interview.
When I told him to go to bed, he did. He said, "Good night, Mom, I love you." Said good night to his puppies. A little bit later.
So let me know if you think this is scripted or if this is just, actual memory. I could go both ways on this one, but you'll notice in just about every interview, she says that same exact line, just slightly different, but we'll see.
Later, I wound up going to bed, and when I woke him up for school, he wasn't there. Sunday,
so 3 days later, March 7th.
We were out and about. We had a really good day. We were out doing our thing, running around. We had dinner that evening, and when we came home, we had a pretty good evening together as well. He was playing right up until bedtime, and then some. I let him stay up a little late. And when I told him to go to bed, he's like, "I love you, Mom. I love you, puppies." And he went to bed.
So kind of the same thing, slightly different wording, but more or less the same. Love you, Mom. Love you, puppies. And it always goes in that order.
And I went to bed around the bowling alley. And then from there we went.
Now, I'm not sure exactly. So this was uploaded on the 18th by Chronicles of Olivia. But I know, as being a YouTuber, that obviously, because she puts music in it and there's edits, that clearly this would have had to been done, even though it was uploaded on the 18th, clearly it had to been, the interview was at least a day before or maybe 2 because, you got to edit everything together. So at the very least, so I'm aiming at day 20. It could be day 21. But I don't think it would have been the same day because, again, you'd have to put the music unless she has like a team. And plus, usually when you upload, especially something like this, you want to upload kind of early in the day. You don't want to say like do an interview like middle of the day and then by the time you get home, it's kind of late at night. And you want to upload a video late at night because, there's certain times, if you're a YouTuber, you want to upload at a particular time.
To dinner. Came home. He took out the trash because that's his chore. He takes the can to the end of the driveway. About 9 o'clock, told him to go to bed. And he's come out of his room where he was playing.
Interesting. I just had an epiphany. She says she goes to bed at 9 p.m. Remember, the neighbor across the street sees his light go out at 9:08. Yet there's a thud that happens sometime after that. But his light's not on. I don't know. Interesting. I was just thinking about that.
He said, all right, good night, Mama. Good night, puppies. Love you.
So there we go again. Third interview within, a week or so. And we have that same kind of line. Good night, Mom. Good night, puppies. Love you. All said kind of the same. At least it goes Mom, puppies. It's slightly different wording, but most or less it's either love you, Mom, love you, puppies, or good night, Mom, good night, puppies, love you. But more or less same, pretty much concept.
The room where he was playing, he said, all right, good night, Mama, good night, puppies, love you, and went to bed.
Were you instantly thinking something's wrong, or were you like,
Okay, now this is the morning of. So people are saying scripted. It's possible. It could be both ways. Again, I want to try to look at it both ways. It could be just, that's, let's just give them benefit of the doubt. You could say, this is kind of like the last memory of Sebastian. Let's just say if they're innocent, that would kind of stick out in your head, right? I mean, that would be, if this was true and this wasn't nefarious, that would be technically your last thing that you heard from your son. So that, I think that would stick pretty vague, vaguely, pretty, vivid in your head. So again, just looking at it both sides. But yeah, remember the neighbor said the lights went out at 9:08, and then there's a thud that happens later on, which is weird. Not to say he couldn't be doing something with his light off, but just that kind of occurred to me. All right, now we're gonna compare the three interviews with the morning of, and then we're gonna get into the timeline. I promise you, we got some interesting stuff.
he may just be already in the shower, in the living room?
I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him. He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
Okay, this is something I noticed that she does in a lot of the interviews. I found it, again, it's just something I'm trying to put all these and just see if there's these patterns. But here she does this, and then there's a cut that they do here.
Or were you like, he may just be already in the shower, in the living room?
I took a second and walked through the house looking for him in case he'd gotten up and was trying to get breakfast or something, because he did that sometimes. About 3 minutes in, give or take, I was on the phone with my husband. I said, I can't find him.
So 3 minutes to call Chris, right? Remember that. This is going to be the bigger one. Even though I point out some smaller stuff, this we're going to come back to, because I promise this is all going to come together here, full circle.
He said, what do you mean you can't find him? I said, he's not in the house.
And we get the exhale.
And so at that point,
And there's a cut. I think it goes like a second or two longer. I think I cut it. But there's an obvious cut here in
is
the
that
interview.
when you call 911, or what's going through your mind?
While we were on the phone, and I was in, it was like, is he on the other side of the bed? The normal places he may be in the house, you know.
And now we have Chris taking the narrative, right? Now he's running with it, even though Chris wasn't even there. I know there was alleged three-way call. I mean, I'm sure there was.
And he wasn't. So I was like, okay, well, hold on a minute. And immediately after that, we called the sheriff's department and made the report.
I ran all over the house, outside, inside. I looked in every closet.
Within minutes, they were here. They responded within minutes, and here we go.
And then that phrase right there, here we go. Let me know what you think about that in chat. I know a lot of these interviews have been played over and over. Promise you, I'm just focusing on some certain things here, and then we're going to come full circle, and we're really going to focus on the time frame that we know, the timeline that we know, that we can put the little pieces of puzzle together. But again, it's like, here we go, as if they were planning for it. You know, just let's just say if this is an inside job, which would not surprise me, it's like they knew this was coming, and so it's like, here we go.
So you said
They responded within minutes, and here we go.
So you said
Instead of like, oh my God, our worst nightmares have come true. We need help. This poor kid, he's freezing. Stuff like that. Just such a weird comment to make.
Midnight. Everything seemed fine.
So now we got day 11. Let's see what she says on day 11.
And when I went to wake him up for school, that's when I couldn't find him. He wasn't in his room, and he wasn't in the house. And that's when I panicked.
And when you panicked, what'd you do?
True.
First thing I did was call my husband, and I said, he's not here. My husband said, what do you mean he's not here? I said, he's not in the house. And he said, immediately just started, did you check here? Did you check there? Did you look here? And I ran through the house, and at that point I was hysterical, for lack of a word. And we three-wayed the police, and I'm within minutes they were here. I couldn't tell you exactly how long. I know it was fast.
So here we go. Within minutes, they call. This is after she'd done the three-way, and according to this statement here, within minutes they arrived after the three-way call. So something slightly different.
And we haven't found him.
When I got the phone call that he was missing.
And then here we go again. Right after she explains up to that part, Chris takes the narrative.
Like she said, we asked questions like, where's he at? Check this, check that. And then we called the sheriff's department. I called the sheriff's department. I stayed on the phone pretty much most of the time.
I'll touch on that too.
I mean, where is my kid? Choice words were used. Where the F is he, I had looked through the house for him, because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that.
Okay, so the last interview, I mean, there's been more interviews since that, but, these official interviews in the beginning. Let's see what she says on this one here.
That, and he likes to dip behind the, walls and
that's a little loud.
watch, and then he comes out after I come back, and he likes to scare me. But,
yes, I love you pointed
after I
that
looked,
out.
And I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat. But,
So in the first one, she said, remember, it was 3 minutes. The first interview, which was on, let's see, we got 18, I believe March 4th, right? So we have now it's 1 minute flat. Before it was 3 minutes. Now, obviously, 1 minute, 3 minutes, not a biggie, but Again, just something to point out.
I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out
Honored to have you in the chat, Deception Detective. Clearly, great work, my friend.
all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and I called my husband and I said, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in this effing house. I can't find our son. And I jumped in my car and I drove around the neighborhood and I drove over by the school, and he's already at this point I was like hysterical and I was crying, I was screaming, and
and the weird cough, just again, it's weird cough. Try to get her, as she's going much further than she has the previous ones. Usually about this point, this is where she starts to sigh or exhale, and then Chris takes over.
he was like three-wayed. He three-wayed law enforcement and was telling them our son is missing and we don't know what's going on. And he was like, go back to the house, they're on their way. And I drove back to the house, and 20 days later we haven't found him.
So again, the first interview that I played for you guys, and the third one, we have where she explains the story up to that one point, after everything's, the three-way call, and then there's this exhale. And again, I am not a deception detective. I'm no behavioral analyst, no expertise in that, but I just find it interesting. Here again, she gets up to that point, tells the story right at that particular point, and then it's this exhale, oh, I've got that out of the way, and then of course, Chris then kind of takes over. Mob assembled the offenses for this live. Everyone is here. I appreciate everybody. I'm sorry. For anybody that's new to the channel, I do try to read the comments, but I usually try to just, put on a show. That way for people that rewatch, I'm not, I do try to chat, but I always just want to put out, what I prepared for you guys. I spent hours putting that together, so I do appreciate everybody in here. So moving forward, because like I said, we're going to come full circle, and we're going to get into that morning because I had to do a little searching and just kind of put the pieces together that we know of. Be curious to get all the experts that are in here, their thoughts on this.
He was playing when he went to bed, when I told him to go to bed. He said, I love you, Mama, and he said, I love you, puppies.
So fourth interview. Now this one again, from when I pulled the metadata from this YouTube, it's video. It was uploaded on March 4th, which would make it day 8. Which coincidentally, she also did another interview where they said it would have been 8 days. So it's possible they would have done these. I could be wrong, and maybe the metadata is off by a day or something. But again, another interview.
A little later in the evening, I myself went to bed. And
love you, Mom. Love you, puppies. Kind of, again, is it scripted or is it just one of her last, if that was the last time she heard from Sebastian, that would stick out. Like I said, looking at it from both sides.
And when I went to wake him up for school, he wasn't here.
You guys are amazing.
Between the hours of, 12 and 6, he is back.
Before we get to the morning, I'm sorry, I forgot. I always find stuff and I kind of add stuff in. So notice they're going to start giving actual times, right? Just before he disappeared. I find this very interesting. It could be just coincidence or something more. But notice here Chris comes in, and you'll notice here in a minute that even the host is trying to ask Katie, to get, because Katie's the one who was there, but yet Chris is the one talking. But anyway, point is notice we get timelines. We get actual times.
Basically vanished. Walked out of the house, the door was locked and gone.
What do you say right there? Doors were locked. Doors were locked. We got 12 to 6 in the morning. Doors were locked. No shoes, no phone.
He didn't take a phone. None of his shoes are missing.
Now, you told me that night that, now, Chris, you were at work. You were out of town at work, so you were not even home.
So here's the host even saying, "Hey, you're gone." Basically implying like, hey, you weren't there. Like to hear from Katie.
Correct, ma'am.
And Mom, you fell asleep on the couch about 10 o'clock, but you said that Sebastian went to bed at 9 p.m. And then you got up off the couch and you went to bed, and you said that was around midnight. And nothing was unusual at that point. Everything seemed okay.
There's actually a piece.
Now, we're just, the host is simply just trying to get a timeline, which again makes sense. She's clearly asking for Katie's input because Katie's the one that was there. And then all of a sudden, she's talking, giving us a little bit of stuff, and then here comes Chris. And I just find this huge red flag. Again, comes in with the narrative.
So to make something very crystal clear, so that way there's transparency across the board. Me and the mom were on the phone at 9:43 or 9:46 in the evening. We stayed on the phone for quite some time. The call logs have been verified.
So they never asked about Chris, but yeah, he's got to come in and then gives us very specific 9:43 to 9:46, time frame, as if, he needs to get out there and say, I got this alibi or whatever. Very strange.
All the police departments, TBI included. We stayed on the phone. It was very lengthy. Mom did slightly start falling asleep while she was on the couch. I had said, hey, you need to wake up, put the dogs up, go to bed. Now, mind you, that was right around midnight, just before midnight or right around midnight.
So the night just before he goes missing, we get a lot of timeline details. The 9 to noon or 9 to midnight phone call. Well, I guess 9:45 to midnight phone call.
Mm-hmm.
So then Mom does go to bed and wakes up early in the morning.
And again, why is he telling this part?
To go wake her son up, get him ready for school.
No timeline.
And now we have a worried mom who can't find her son in the house. Mom made an effort to look and search several times. Mom has called me at the time and asked me, she was like, I can't find him. I was like, do what? She goes, yeah, I cannot find him. I said, well, hang on. I made the phone call and reported it to the sheriff's department because that's what we're supposed to do. And within 10 minutes, the sheriffs were dispatched to the location.
Okay, 10 minutes, dispatched.
Our son is out there. We're going to find him.
And now publicly, like obviously police are now investigating a landfill. People are speaking out about that. What are your thoughts about that?
Everybody has an opinion and their assumptions, and they are entitled to those. But as I've stated before, all we've asked people to do is to look at the facts.
That's what we're doing. That's what we do on this channel. We do speculate. Okay, now coming full circle, right? Here we go, guys. Now, I want to see what you guys think because we got a lot of smart people in here. And again, I will get to the comments. You guys are amazing. You guys hit the goal, even though I don't do the goal much, but you guys are so amazing. So I will do kind of like a 20-minute Q&A and just try to get questions. And it doesn't have to be super chats. I'll just try to snag, what I can. But now we're going to come to that morning, what I could discover searching. Again, I'm sure I could have missed something, but let me know if you find this time frame a little suspicious, in my opinion. And I could have something wrong. I am not perfect, but this is going off from different sources here.
She sees.
Okay. Oops. So we hear the 603, and I'll pull the actual source up here in a minute. But 603, She gets up. She's looking for Sebastian, right?
Mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window.
Now remember, that neighbor across the street, she sees on her ring cam, she says between 6:20 and 6:30, but I think it's actually more towards 6:30, somewhere around in there. But she sees Mom come out, and here's what she described.
Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere.
Now, what I find interesting, now remember that where this camera's sitting, unless the neighbor was actually out there, I'm not sure. I'm sure she reviewed the footage, but one thing I would like to know, is she on the phone? Because remember, at that point, she should be on the phone with Chris. By the time it's 6:20 or 6:30, she should definitely be on the phone while she's yelling for Sebastian, or unless she has like an earpiece. I mean, she could have an earpiece, right? Who knows? It'd be interesting to find out. But I would love to know, did she actually have a phone in her hand or something in her ear? Because again, she would have already called Chris, doing the three-way call when she comes out of that home.
Now, I don't think she's much said that part of the story, that she actually came outside of her home.
No, she hasn't, which I find very interesting, because maybe she didn't want that out there, because just in case, maybe the phone call didn't happen when they were thinking about it. Yeah, you're right. How many mentioned the thud? Yeah, the thud doesn't come until later. Right. Sorry, that was a little loud. Okay. So when did the call actually come in?
Do we have an estimated time of start for the search process?
Call came in at 6:33 this morning.
So call came in at 6:33 a.m.
Great, thank you.
Then she got into her vehicle, went over, I think, what was the school, potentially. That's what it's believed anyway. She was only gone for about maybe, let's say, 10 minutes at most, maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most. Came back.
Now, this is why I think it was more towards 6:30 when she leaves in her vehicle, like the neighbor had said. Because you'll notice something that the dispatcher says, and we have a timestamp for that.
And I'm going to turn down. I was going to be wearing a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants. You know, those have a form of autism. It's the first time it happened. I was going to be in the home before midnight. The doors are locked at this time.
And again, another mention, all doors are locked. Huge, very huge. Mentioned multiple times now.
10-4 Monroe.
Central to 47-180, 412. Juvenile left his son at the house. The mother is driving around looking for him.
So according to this, now this timestamp could be off. I'm trying to verify through other sources, but right now that does kind of line up. If the call came in at 6:33, remember they say according to Chris they get there within 10 minutes. So remember that's at 6:42, and at least according to this, and listen to what they say right here, and then I'll put it together for why I think there's some red flags here.
You know, those have a form of autism. It's the first time it happened. I was going to be in the home before midnight. The doors are locked at this time.
That's a good question.
Central to 47-180, 412. Juvenile left his son at the house. The mother is driving around looking for him in the Victoria Place subdivision, and she is driving a baby blue Infiniti.
So they are saying right now that she's driving a baby blue Infiniti, and it's approximately 6:42, which does kind of make sense. They said that, according to Chris, about 10 minutes. So I think if she did leave around 6:30 or 6:33, because that's when the call came in, 6:33, 6:42, that's about 10 minutes, right? So if we add that all together,
Sit there and see what's going
put
on.
this all together now.
Do a long search of the residence. We'll go from there.
So, in your mind, that's usually around what time? When do you normally wake up? Around 6 o'clock?
6.
So
there she, in her own words, she got up at 6. We've heard 6:03, but 6:03, either one.
After I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat. But I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows.
So now let's put this all together now.
We have an estimated time of start for the search process.
Call came in at 6:33 this morning.
Great, thank you.
Here we go. So she got up at 6, was looking for Sebastian, even if it was 6:03 a.m. And according to multiple interviews, she searched one where she says in under a minute, one she says 3 minutes, and then she's on the call with Chris. But yet the call doesn't go in until 6:33. And she doesn't leave until about 6:30 to go out for the school or whatever. So again, what happens with the 30 minutes? Again, the number 3 comes up again. But usually I think deception is talking about when they're talking about referring to stuff. But again, 30 minutes, even if you cut that and like shave 10 minutes off or whatever, 20 minutes is a long time. I know not everybody thinks, let's just say Kohlberger is guilty. He was able to kill 4 people in 8 minutes. Just think about that. I mean, it is a long time. When you're talking about it, it may not really, 30 minutes is a long time. What did she do for 30 minutes? Again, now maybe she woke up at 6:15 and she just said 6. But again, we've heard her say, 6, and we've heard 6:03, right? And then the neighbor sees her at around, she says 6:20 to 6:30, but I think it's more towards 6:30 because minutes later, that same neighbor sees her leaving. So again, what did she do for 20 to 30 minutes? Let me know what you guys think. Am I looking too deep into this? I find this very odd. We've heard, I just played the interviews. 2 of them, she says, and she looked for less than a minute or whatever, and the other one's like less than 3 minutes. And then I was on the call with my husband doing a 3-way. But yet the call to the sheriff's office doesn't come in until 6:33. That's a long time. Again, there could be some other variables. Like I said, I look at stuff. I try to look at stuff at all sides. There could be definitely variables. We could be missing something. But again, I've got, bringing up receipts that I can find. And I know we've heard her mention the 6 a.m., 6:03 before. And then clearly they said 6:33 from the dispatch. So again, what are you doing unless you guys are kind of, let's just kind of speculate a little bit. Maybe they're, trying, her and Chris are kind of finalizing some things. Let's just say if it was allegedly an inside job, maybe we need to make sure we're getting our story straight, what we're going to do next. Again, just saying. Doesn't mean that's what happened. But again, it's that's a long time. Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, it's a good question, Mom. A blessed mom. Again, like I said, there could be some variables in there. They're talking to the sheriff for a bit and explaining stuff, and then maybe it takes a few minutes to relay that over to dispatch or whatever. Sure. Still, there's a lot. Again, even 15 minutes. Again, and it doesn't. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't add up to what she said, right? She said everything happened really fast. Let's just quickly play that one part here. Let's just listen to this one more time.
House for him, because it was typical for him to get up and come and rummage for snacks and things like that. And he likes to dip behind the walls and watch. And then he comes out after I come back, and he likes to scare me. But after I looked, and I mean, mind you, all of this took place in like 1 minute flat.
So, according to her, she just looked for a minute.
But I didn't see him in his room. I looked all over. I ran through the whole house. I looked out all the doors and windows, and I was like hollering his name. And I picked up the phone and I called my husband, and I said, I can't find him. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he's not in this effing house. I can't find our son. And I jumped in my car and I drove around the neighborhood.
So again, I'm not looking too deep into this, but I do find that's a big window of what's going on. Again, there could be simple explanation for it, and I could be looking too deep into it. But again, I've always find it odd that morning they're very vague. The night before, Chris Proudfoot's happy to give his 9:43, 9:46. It takes from doorstep to doorstep. It's 3 hours and whatever minutes. But here we go. That morning, there's definitely some discrepancies, in my opinion. No, you're right on point. Yeah, again, there could be an explanation for it, but I do find it odd. So let's jump gears here. Somebody told me that Shill Investigates put out a statement. So I have not read this. So buckle up, guys, because, again, I have studied that lights video. I'm not an expert. I'm just a person who has edited videos for almost 3 decades. I understand video editing. I understand just, because I was a skateboarder for 12 years, and so we filmed at night a lot, and, we did other projects and stuff. I always wanted to be a director at one point, and film movies and stuff, or edit them. I always loved that kind of stuff. So I always kind of understood, editing and audio and stuff like that. Anyway, I digress. And then I'll get to super chats, and then we'll try to do a 20 minutes here in about 10 minutes, depending on how long it's going to take to read this junk. So, all right, let's read. I've only read like the first 2 paragraphs. So, but I'm going to try to go through this quickly here. It appears some content creators have realized that the evidence in the Rogers case does not support the accusations they have leveled against Katie and Chris. As a result, they are now backtracking to align with law enforcement accounts. I don't even know what that means. The lights, video, and quotations continues to be a topic of discussion. Well, of course it is, because it has not been addressed. I guarantee you, if law enforcement knew what those lights... This is why I would love to have Jennifer Coffindaffer on, because I would love to ask her this question. If they knew what those lights were, would likely, just like with Green Hoodie, I guarantee you they would put out a statement and say, hey, we know what those lights are. This is, and maybe give maybe an explanation. They have not even come. Again, of course, we only have that interview with Craddock where he's like, I'm not talking about it. Let's make sure everything's smooth here. Okay, thank you, Carol, for the PayPal. God bless you. You are so sweet. Okay, on November 21st, we produced an 8-page analysis of the lights, which was just garbage. This allowed us to establish whether the two different sets of lights were mounted on a vehicle. Again, let me just remind you where the lights are coming from. We've all known since the early days. So I don't know what mounted vehicle would be back here. You know, especially with a ditch, you know. Again, absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, where's this statement? Maintaining consistent separation regardless of movement on the screen, or if the distance varied laterally or vertically. We also measured the color temperature. Oh, wow. Are we studying stars or something? Color temperature, huh? Of each light, analyzed other critical factors. This analysis report was publicly posted over a month ago. Yeah, I read it. It was absolute trash. Our analysis concluded that of the two lights drawing the most attention in the video, one was a fixed mounted light, while the other was likely a flashlight being moved around the area. Wow, so okay, I agree with that part 100%. Except, what about the other flashlight? There's actually two. I have attached a copy of this. While we cannot share all investigative details, of course not, I can disclose another important finding about the lights video. Through the recreation video conducted by these guys, as well as further investigation interviews, we've learned from a direct interview that a neighbor on Stafford Court took their trash can to the curb just minutes before the trash truck arrived. Here we go. They're trying to say that this happened up on the street and... Oh, God, I need Tylenol. This individual used a flashlight while moving their trash can from the storage location at the top of an elevated driveway. So this doesn't... So, okay, so let me just stop right there, okay? Let me just show you how effing ridiculous this is, okay? So this is a guy putting out his trash, right? So let me just remind you of what happened in one of these. Okay, so I know it's going to be a little hard to see on your screen, but you're going to see light jet across the stream, across the screen. Excuse me. You're telling me after this guy put out his garbage can that he's running back to his home? Look at that. I mean, this guy's gone. I know if you're on your phone, you're probably like, what? Oh, don't forget about the flashlight that just shows up at the end of this video. And then let's not address the big elephant in the room. This is going on while there is a vehicle, a mysterious vehicle that just happened to turn its lights on at the same time that the lights are moving. So you tell me, so did this guy see the car? Because if he's putting out his trash can, then he'd had to have seen this mysterious car turn on his lights, right? This is the flashlight. If you tell me not, then you're just full of shit. Sorry, sorry, I don't get heated, but like, seriously, because I mean, right now you're just insulting people's intelligence, is what he's doing. And it bugs the ever-living shit out of me when you insult your viewers, your whatever. It's disgusting. So, this is so stupid. I mean, this is so stupid. This individual used a flashlight while moving their trash can from the storage location at the top of an elevated driveway. This finding perfectly aligns with the height deviations noted in our analysis report. This guy doesn't even know basic geometry. So just to let you know. I could school him on that. This neighbor confirmed that they took out their trash can. Oh, and this is even better. They took their trash can to the curb shortly after 5 a.m. So, again, let me just remind you. Let me just remind you guys. Dun, dun, dun. That was up further. Sorry, guys. I've got a lot. I have a lot in this one. Oh, there it is. I just saw it. Yep, right there. Let me remind you what 5 a.m. looks like, right? This is 5 a.m. I don't even need lights to see the house across the street. You know why? Because the sun's coming up, and we have another light source called the sun. Yet, I can't see a damn thing in this video. You know why? Because it's 3 o'clock in the morning or sometime around that time. So again, and then there's another argument. Do you really need, okay, remember, this is 5 a.m., right? Here's another argument. Let me know in the chat, do you guys think you would need a fucking flashlight? I'm sorry. Do you really need a flashlight at this time of day to put out your trash when the lighting's like this? I mean, unless you've got like this dark like area and you've got trees, maybe I could see like that's casting some shadow over your driveway. Are you telling me you're really going to come out with a flashlight when you have light, natural source light? Again, absolutely ridiculous. We know this trash truck was in front of the Proud Stink Feet home at 5:12 a.m. That's about the only truth so far I've read. He talks about the timestamp being broken at 3:11. Yes, that is correct. That's about, I've seen about two things he's stated, maybe three, that are fact. While recreations are never 100% conclusive, yeah, your recreation was absolutely the worst thing. I mean, it was god-awful. I don't even want to read page 2. I really don't. What is page 2? I'm trying to click on it. I don't have a page here. I don't know. It's, again, maybe I'll do another video on it. I hate to have to waste my time. I swear to God he does this. So just to waste my time while I have to go and debunk this guy. And it's getting old because, again, all he's really doing is insulting your guys' intelligence. And it just pisses me off. I mean, it is clear as day the difference between what time of day it is here and what time of day it is here. You know, of course, I've already debunked the angles that they did. They didn't do the proper angles, so they're showing so much more you wouldn't see. Again, I'm not going to get into it because I'll start. It makes me mad. Like, again, because this is off the back of Sebastian Rogers, and all it is just sidetracking people and just trying to pull the wool over their eyes, and it's disgusting. It really is. And to me, this is the big thing, though. This should show you how important. This is the reason why a lot of my videos focus around this mysterious lights video. Because if these people are hired by the Stink Feet, this just shows you that why are they trying to say, oh, look over here or over there, or paint this narrative that's false, blatantly false, but yet can't just give a simple explanation. It just shows that there is something in this video that they don't want you to figure out. Because this, to me, this is the key. This is why I focus on evidence. I digress. First question, I'll go 20 minutes because you guys hit the goal. You guys are amazing. If you have questions, obviously I'm not going to be able to get everybody's questions. I will try to do about 20 minutes. If I see a question, I'll pull it up and I'll answer. It doesn't have to be a super chat. I know one question was about the timestamp, and I'll just tell you what I know from talking from different sources. So, about this timestamp. So the 24, keep in mind that's the year. So it goes year, month, day. So obviously it's 2 days behind, almost 3 days behind. So on the 23rd, it just froze. So I think that was like a Friday. And coincidentally, it didn't start working again until that Tuesday. So he went missing Sunday night, Monday morning. That Tuesday, the next day, it just started working again, the timestamp. But it froze from basically 3:11 a.m. on the 3rd, or the 23rd. And then a couple days later, it started working again. I tried to research it. I couldn't find anything significant, as if someone may have tampered with it. You know, this is a hardwired camera. We went over many months ago where if you have a system that is wireless, it is easier to be able to be hacked. But if it's hardwired, it's much harder, if not, I wouldn't say impossible, but there's, you wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah, a lot of people think jammers. I looked up jammers, and I also looked up frozen time stamps. I didn't see anything come up on that. So again, I don't know. It is interesting. I mean, go figure, of all the days. I mean, at least the camera was working. So, but again, even though it's a frozen timestamp, from what I understand, how they could understand what time this mysterious car was shown is there's obviously other cameras that this car was captured on. And so they'll be able to, so they're just like, okay, yeah, we see this mysterious car around 3:30. I think it was like around 3:15. And so they knew just based off that. Which is interesting because, it says 3:11, and that is kind of around the time that this suspicious car was going on. But anyway, yeah, if we can get that up to 1,000, that'd be awesome. If you guys can, please hit that like button if you haven't already. That'd be so awesome. Get up to 1,000. So again, if you have a question, I will try to answer it. Mama says, Chris, I do have a question. Wonder why their trash cans are out at the end of the driveway. That has me very curious and confused. Okay, so I had a theory on this as well. I think this is also proof that this is taken more towards the early morning. Sorry, guys. Trying to get right to it. I think obviously if the trash comes at like 5:10 when it turns around, clearly these guys don't have their trash cans out. What does that tell you? Either they missed garbage day, or maybe the homeowner gets up at like, say, 4:30, 5 a.m. He knows that, the trash truck comes at around 5. Remember, he's near the Killen Ave, so he'd probably hear the garbage truck coming up. Maybe he's a early bird, and so he puts out his trash cans at 5 a.m. just before the garbage man comes. So again, either they missed trash night, or again, this just shows that this is much earlier in the morning, and those guys probably put out their trash just before the trash man came out. Great question, Mama. Allison, I will try to look. I do get a lot of emails. I apologize. And I do try to respond to a lot of you guys, again, you guys are the best community ever, and it means the world to me. Mia says, why do you think she was so specific in the color and make of her car driving around that morning? Is it because of the Bowersock's Infinity? Ooh. That is a good question. Yeah, the whole baby blue. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't answer that, but yeah, that's a good question. Oh, that's a good point. Hide and seek. Whose child called their parents sir and ma'am? Sir and ma'am are military speak. Not a way to expect a child to respond, in my opinion. Yeah, and that is a great point. Yeah, because they were in the Navy. Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. Chris, you're doing great work, and believe me, there's something to this. You have them nervous, very nervous. Again, I'm not going to build my ego up, but yeah, it is concerning. Because I do think they're just trying to fool people, and that just pisses me off, because that's in the name of Sebastian. Stay focused. I appreciate that. All right, we'll go about 10 more minutes. I'm going to get to the last of the chats as well. Dave says, don't worry about debunking that a-hole. It's like I don't want to, but, again, I'm not saying like I'm an expert at anything. I just have experience working with footage. I have taken classes in video editing. Again, I just don't have any degrees, I guess you should say. But I would say I do have expertise in working with footage. And I've worked with nighttime, daytime, you name it. We've filmed in all different times. And so, again, it's just blatantly clear what time, this is taken at a time that it's not just before dawn or just as dawn is coming. This is clearly middle of the night. And the garbage and the recreation, I've gone over it. They didn't even do the same angle. So they're showing a bunch of stuff that wouldn't even be, you can't see up here. Again, it's just garbage. It truly is. Anymore. I'm going to go 5 more minutes, guys, and huge shout out to my wonderful mods. Again, it's when we have a lot of people in the chat, there's a lot. Carol says, new to the channel. Hello. Thank you so much, Carol. God bless you. When were they asked if outside lights were on? They said, KP said no, only that right here. I'll play it. I thought this was interesting. How do you not know your garage lights are automatic? They're not motion, I promise you, at least from what I understand, because they were on all night. So that means either something's moving it. I don't think
on
these
the
are
outside.
motion sensitive.
Proudfoot, did you pass your polygraph?
I did. No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Bullshit.
Were there any lights outside the house on at all?
I see two.
Just my little solar lights that we have in the garden.
Two big lights right here.
There's 2 lights on the side of the house above the garage that are on at all times.
Oh, yeah, those are on.
Oh, there's a light above the garage that's on at all times?
But why?
There's 2, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so those lights...
You know what? Know why? In my opinion, because, and we'll get to the last final point, is if you think about it, remember they said all the doors were locked, right? All doors were locked. if he went out the front door, his shoes are at the front door, right? So if he goes out the front door, why wouldn't he just put it on his shoes and go out the front, right? If he went out the front, there's a good possibility would have seen him on camera. Then we have the side door. Sorry, actually, I'm going to pull this up here. And close this clown. What a clown. What a clown. So, if he came out the front door, right? This is why it's very important. Came out the front door, we would likely have seen him. If he went left, we would have seen disturbance from the lights above the garage. If he went right, we have a light that's over here. He could have maybe gotten around it. It's always possible. If the only other one, obviously, if he came through the garage doors, definitely would have seen him, and he would have been heard. He could have came out that door, but since it's so close to these lights to the garage, he would have likely been seen. And those are the two doors with the lock, keypad locks, which now only leaves the only other exit, and that would be the back door. But they have said, and I found multiple interviews I played earlier, they said doors were locked. So again, if he went out the back, has no keys, how in the hell did he lock the deadbolt? He couldn't. So, also says, you and other creators are going to be the ones who solve this case because of how invested you all are. Thank you so much, Allison. And it won't be just me. It'd be the community, but I'm just here to point tips out. If I'm going to solve it, I don't think so, but if I could at least maybe find a tip that could help, that would be amazing. Just even a tip, you know. I have sent stuff to him, so, and I continue to look for stuff. Regina says, thank you for continuing to fight for Sebastian. It is my honor and pleasure. Girl Mom says, they did the Duchess interview a day before this aired, in my opinion, trial run for the first TV interview. Interesting. Yeah, maybe the metadata was a day off. Because, yeah, I did think it was like a day before. So I think you're right, Girl Mom. Rob C., thank you so much for supporting this channel. God bless you. Zia coming in with 5 Mob Crew memberships. That is so awesome. Emo Jim, good to see you, brother. Hi, guys. Hi, Chris. I'm still alive, just working every day, but keeping up with your videos. Thank you so much, Emo. Huge supporter. Biscuits and gravy. That sounds great right now. Thank you so much for the $10. NJs, thank you so much. Brilliant show. Thank you. Emo says, well done eating dinner. I will finish watching this later. Great job later all. Thank you so much, Emo. Huge supporter. And June, just want to say hi to SF. You know he's watching. Why didn't KP call Seth to see if he heard from Sebastian? Ooh, that's a good comment, Carol. I like that. Interesting. Yeah, she didn't text him until 7:20 a.m., right? 7:02 or 7:20. I know it's one of those. So, yeah, that's a great... God, why can't I get it to where I want it?
We...
Oh. Sorry, guys. I was just going to pull that thing up one last time. It's right at the end, of course.
Comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime.
Right there. That's what I wanted to leave up. Aquarian says, hi, Chris. People in the southern states still say sir and ma'am. It's a cultural thing. Oh. See? And we like to hear all sides. Again, we're not just here to be biased, at least me anyway, and say I'm just gunning for these guys. I just want the answers. But the last thing I'm going to do is for put out a narrative to support, to fool you guys, put out a narrative to support, what I think. It's, again, it's ridiculous, and it's not going to help solve the case. Blue Bella, thank you so much for the $5. Forget Me Not, thank you so much for becoming a member. And Catherine, why did Thud Story stop? Did mom tell law enforcement this? Right. Yeah, the thud did come much later. Yeah, he's a clown. So again, the two red flags in this video obviously is where's the 30 minutes? 20 to 30 minutes, we'll just kind of say approximately, what happened. That's a long time, and it doesn't line up with what she said in her interviews. She said a couple minutes flat, she looked for him, and then she called Chris, and then she was going out, but not according to the neighbor's footage, and according to dispatch saying that the call came at 6:33. So there's a big gap in there. That's a lot. That's a big window. And then, of course, the locks. All doors were locked. But if he's coming out the front or the side, there's a good chance that he would have been seen. So, again, another red flag. All right, guys. I am going to head out. Oh. Yeah, Rachel, that's a good question too. Yeah, she's very vague on in that middle part. Yeah, where they kind of spend time with the family. All of a sudden they're like going to the grocery store, and then I forget Colossal Popcorn if that was before. But yeah, all of a sudden like they're together, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, my mods, if they could post my email. Again, I get a ton of emails. Please be patient. And sometimes I just can't get to everybody. It's just me. I don't have a team. So, yeah, and they are, Allison. That's right. Routine is huge. Again, I can only go from experience from my cousin who, back then they didn't really call it autism, but, clearly now I know much more. But yeah, he had autism, and I've said this in the last 5 lives, like, now looking back at it, like, yeah, he was all about routine, and he was a big eater. So you always knew when it was time for lunch or dinner. And yeah, it's, yeah, it's a great point. Vesper says, just showing my support, especially those who call you unprofessional when they don't do a channel or investigate anything. Oh, thank you so much, Vesper. I try to stick with the evidence. I always have sources that I'm pulling up. Again, we do speculate, but I'm always going off evidence or interviews, basically evidence, and then putting what I can together, and then putting what I believe I see or red flags, and then presenting to my viewers, and then we just kind of go over it. Oh. What do you guys think? I would love to have Coffin Dapper on. I haven't had anybody on my show for a long time, but I would love, wouldn't it be great to get like some insight from her about the lights? I'm sure there's some things she may not be able to answer, but it would just be amazing to get some insight from her. I love what she's done since she's put up her YouTube channel. I know there's some people that, this is all it says. I think maybe some people got like Coffin Dapper fatigue, because I think she kind of came up at the end of Gabby Petito, and she was just kind of on all the channels, because I think just everybody wanted to get, her thoughts. You get a former, it's one thing you always have for like former law enforcement, but to have somebody former FBI out there kind of giving their insight, I mean, that's, we don't get that often. So I think, I wonder if it was kind of like cadaver fatigue, because we had her kind of popping up in the Gabitito and Caleb Harris and I think maybe Riley Strain. And then, anyway, long story short, since her YouTube channel, it's been so amazing, especially Caleb Harris, the insight that she's gotten from that. I would love to pick her brain. That's just my opinion. So, thank you, Leslie and John, or Leslie and Bill. Sorry, I don't know where I got John from. Amber says, John Doe is trying to tell you something, hon. John Doe. Did he have a question? Okay, I'm looking. Okay, now I'm just going to be honest. I've had other people come forward. No offense, John Doe. If you want to email me, I would love to see what you get your thoughts on it. My email's in the description, and my mods can do that. So yeah, if you'd like to email me, and we'll go from there. Again, I'm just gonna be honest. No offense to John Doe. I've had some people tell me, "Oh, I've got information," and then it's some troll. So now I've kind of got my guard up because, of course, that team is sending trolls to anybody that doesn't support their theories. And again, no offense to John Doe. It could be real, but I'll just tell you right now, I have my guard up with stuff. So, but I would love to hear if you want to email me with what you got. I'd be more than willing to look at it. So with that, guys, I am going to end it. I'm going to do an outro right now because we went a lot longer than I wanted to. Again, thank you to the mods for all your amazing hard work. We'll probably instead of just doing a mod appreciation once a year, we'll start doing it like maybe quarterly or something. So, because our mods are truly amazing. So thank you guys so much. And of course, for my members and Patreons, I've got some stuff. The first juror in the Richard Allen case has done an interview. I'm going to put that out for my Patreons and members. And I also got the drone stuff that I wanted to kind of do for the members and Patreons. So video should be out either tonight or in the morning. So with that, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday or Sunday, wherever you're at. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. You guys are amazing. Keep Sebastian's name out there. And, God bless you guys. We'll maybe do a members live tomorrow.